Well, Hunter Brown is a finalist for the Cy Young Award. Some people think it might be tough to overtake Scooble, but we have to wait for the votes to come in. And some future Hall of Famers might get on the ballot in 26 who have had controversy in the past. We'll talk about this and some offseason stuff on this edition of Locked On Astros.
Yainel Diaz, this is Locked On Astros.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. He is Brett Chancey. We are the Locked On Astros podcast, and thank you for making us your daily routine. Whether it's on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to us. Go and make us first listen. Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts, go and check us out. Between Brett and I, we have over 18 years of podcasting experience, and we're going to be here all off season to walk you through whatever chaos is going to happen, because after what happened in 2025, who knows what this off season is going to bring. But this episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So, Brett, I know that yesterday we had an emergency episode about Mauricio Dubon winning Gold Glove, but Hunter Brown is up for the AL Cy Young. What do the Astros get if he actually finishes in top three? Well, I guess technically he already did, but the Veterans Committee gets to decide if a past Astro goes into the Hall of Fame. And also there's some players who were opted out of their contract today. Could any of them find their way to Houston? So much for us to talk about on tonight's Locked On Astros podcast.
Yeah, definitely. It's two former Astros. If you count Jeff Kent, he is on there. Roger Clemens, probably most famed with his days with the Red Sox, but came back late at the end of his career to help the Astros get to their first World Series in 2005. I see you donning the early 2000s gear there. Barry Bonds makes for a controversial name on the ballot. And then some guys that are stragglers or people that think that were good, maybe the Hall of Very Good, but maybe not the Hall of Fame. And Donnie Baseball, Fernando Valenzuela, Dale Murphy, Gary Sheffield also had some steroid suspicions, and then Carlos Delgado. So it's an interesting name, list of names. But to talk about what we're here to really highlight is Hunter Brown. Hunter Brown has clearly become the ace of the staff, and with, I think, the imminent exit of Framber Valdez to another team, he becomes the ace. He becomes the guy. He is what Roy Oswalt became. He is what Framber Valdez was. He is what an ace should be, a guy that goes up on the mound, competes, bears down. When he gets mad, he throws strikes, and he throws them really hard. And he typically has a lot more success than not. So Hunter Brown, I believe being a top three nominee means he can't finish out of the top three, which would be insane. So I would think that the Astros PPI, isn't that what it's called? PPI pick.
Yeah, PPI.
I'm pretty sure that all assures the Astros getting that extra pick, which adds to the Astros farm system, which is something that really definitely is something that needs to be improved.
Yeah, definitely. The pick would be after the first round, right, in the 2026 draft. So I know Chandler Rome says, assuming that this is the final list, this is the top three, nothing is finalized until the results come in. But I'm pretty sure that this is going to be the top three. And if you look at them, Max Fried, depending on which list you're looking at, he might have had a slightly higher WAR than Hunter Brown did, but and then Crochet. So it's kind of weird how you look at different sites and they take in the different WARs into consideration. But I don't know which one they actually use when they take the consideration. But if you're looking at Fangraphs, they have the pitching WAR at 6.6 for Scooble, and then if you look at Crochet, it's 5.8. Then you have to go all the way down behind Max Fried to look at Hunter Brown, with 4.6. But if you're looking at Baseball Reference, you have Skubal with 6.6, and then Crochet with 6.3, and then Hunter Brown with a 6.1. And then you have Fried not even on the list. So it's kind of weird to read too much into the differences between the different WAR values. But the matter is Tariq Skubal, his numbers were off the charts this year, and what he can do to the team. I know he was 13-6. He had a 2.21 ERA, which led the American League. I know that Hunter Brown kind of led the American League for a little bit, but he had some starts that inflated his ERA a little bit.
What was Skubal's whip?
His whip was 0.891.
Okay, wow, that's pretty low.
His FIP was 2.45. He had 241 strikeouts. And if you look at Crochet, he was 14-5 with a 2.38 ERA. His whip was 1.06. I didn't see the FIP on this one, but he had a 207 Ks. And then Hunter Brown was 12-9 with a 2.43 ERA and a 1.03 whip with 206 strikeouts.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, this is just a phenomenal year for, Hunter Brown, 185.1 innings, 200 plus strikeouts. He's increased his strikeout rate every year. He's lowered his whip every year, and he's lowered his ERA every year. In 2023 of 5.09 ERA, in 24 3.49, and this year 2.43. So this guy is trending in the right direction. I mean, if we're talking about contract extensions, we're talking about the offseason. Gosh, he is a guy that you have got to look at trying to sign sooner rather than later, because the more success this kid has, the more improvement he sees. That dollar value is just going to go up. Now we know that he is now represented by Boris Corp, and so he hired them for a reason. But Boris has allowed his clients to sign in Houston for pretty decent deals. Will he do that for Hunter Brown? I don't know, because I
think that goes to the players too, Brett. I mean, the players that desire to stay with Houston, they typically stay with Houston. And the players like Alex Bregman that want to get the money, they go elsewhere. So it's not just on Boris. Boris is the talking head. He's the middle guy. He's the guy that gets the job done. I mean, I'm not giving him a clean slate or anything. I still remember the Carlos Beltran days, and which reminds me of this shirt, the World Series shirt from 2005. But going back to those days, but just thinking about what Boris has done over the years to the Astros. I mean, he's done it to all the other teams. So we can't just say it's going to be Boris. It's all Boris's fault. The Astros had a chance to extend Hunter Brown early. They knew what type of pitcher he was going to be, and that ship sailed 2 years ago. So they could still try to get an extension, but I just don't see it in the cards. And if they don't get it, the players extended young like they did with Jordan Alvarez, it just seems like they can't get those extensions done unless a player a la Jose Altuve and Bregman the first time around, and Alvarez, of course, they want to stay.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's honestly what it comes down to. But just to kind of counter your point, I think Boris has a lot to do with it. That's why players sign him. They sign him to get the most. Yes, Boris does work for the player, but Boris also tells the player, I mean, why do you think guys have held out with Boris for more money? Maybe some haven't gotten it. But you've got more and more people opting out, and we'll talk about that in our final segment tonight. But and Ben makes a good point. He says we have control of him until 2028. Well, and that makes sense. And that essentially is why the Houston Astros have not extended a lot of players that are going to have these high price tags. But then again, why wouldn't you buy out those years, buy out the next 2 or 3 seasons, and then give him an extra 2 or 3 more and try to keep him here until, he's 27. You give him, you buy out his last 3 years, you give him a 6-year contract. I don't know, maybe you backload it. You give him a player opt-out after those 3 years, so when he turns 30, he can test free agency. Why not give him that with the opt-out? Now, again, it makes more financial sense to just keep him in the arbitration mode. I think the top arbitration now, I think, is like 22.4 million. MLB raised it from last year. So we'll see what he gets. We'll see what they settle for. But yes, he is under team control. That's a good thing for the Astros. So you're right. They don't have to panic and sign him. I'm just saying, if you're going to extend him, you might as well do it now while he's not like, well, I mean, once the kid wins a Cy Young, all bets are.
I think what you're trying to say is before he becomes Roger Clemens, and once he becomes a presence like Roger Clemens, then that's when all bets are off, and he's going to make the type of money that Framber Valdez is expecting to make, even though he's not really the presence of Roger Clemens. But guys, we'll go and continue this discussion. Thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day.
So everybody, this episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is a great app. Go to the Game Time app and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. NFL is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. So let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle. Between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout, it can be frustrating. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and if you just look a couple of games throughout the NFL, you can find tons of deals for at least and as low as $100. Not at least, but as low as $100. The app made it super simple. I love the zone deals. You pick the section, they pick the seats, and you save big. Honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way that I've ever bought tickets. And I mean that from a personal promotion on my end. I highly recommend this. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today.
Hey guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day, whether it's on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to us. Go and make us first listen. Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Go and check us out. Great Scott. We want to see what happens to Hunter Brown. Is he going to get the Cy Young? Well, we're probably going to have to wait till the 12th. Now let's go back in time. Wayne's World. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about past players. So the National Baseball Hall of Fame Museum announced today that the contemporary baseball era player ballot was released today. This is basically what used to be called the veteran committee. They vote veteran players. They vote on all these players and decide if they get into the Hall of Fame or not. We all know that Pete Rose is going to be added to the actual ballot this year, along with a couple other players. It's either this year or next year, but this was announced by Rob Manfred at the end of last season, I believe it was, after Pete Rose passed away. But this is not the same vote that he was, because Pete Rose was never allowed in the Hall. Remember that commercial? But you have some players that were at part of the Hall of Fame vote, and they never got in. You got Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Carlos Delgado, Jeff Kent, Don Mattingly, Dale Murphy, Gary Sheffield, and Fernando Valenzuela. I know that some of these guys probably aren't going to get in.
Right.
Something like Dale Murphy, he was a legend with the Braves, but a lot of people outside of Atlanta might not know him. Don Mattingly had a great career with the Yankees. Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens are the two guys I really want to focus on. Yeah, sure, Jeff Kent, we could talk about him slipping while he was washing his car or falling off the motorcycle, whatever it was, but he had a great career himself. But Roger Clemens is who I want to talk about first. That's why I wore this shirt today and this hat, just to kind of go back in time, because Roger Clemens meant a lot to the Houston Astros, especially coming from the Yankees organization, and helped the Astros get to their first World Series. And that's why I wore this shirt today. So do you think that despite all the speculations and the suspensions for PEDs. Do you think that the Hall of Fame, the Veterans Committee, will vote Roger Clemens in?
I mean, he certainly has a resume. I mean, it's not the Hall of morality. I mean, if we're going to dissect everybody's moral impasses, you got to go back to Ty Cobb. You got to go back to what these guys did off the field. I'm sure there's guys in the Hall of Fame that did a whole lot worse than use PEDs for a short time. I mean, look, and I'm sorry, I don't have as hard a line of look on these guys using steroids as a lot of people, because I do know for a fact that they were being handed out like steroids, or like Tic Tacs in the minor leagues. I mean, I know someone who was close to a couple of players in the Padres organization back in the day, and they turned a blind eye to it because baseball needed a boost, baseball needed a help, and the reason why the pitchers were doing it is because the hitters were doing it. But if y'all notice, the residual effect was negative. There were a ton of injuries, a ton of rotator cuff injuries. Injuries went through the roof. But I think Roger Clemens has a resume. I think Barry Bonds, even if you remove Barry Bonds' years that he took steroids, he still outpaces and beats pretty much everybody in his era. So someone like Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, absolutely, put him in the Hall. Some people say, oh, well, that's wrong, they're cheaters, whatever. Before they cheated, I mean, look what Roger Clemens did. 86, 254 innings, 87, 281, 264, 253, 221. The guy had 7 straight seasons of 200 plus innings, and that was from 86 to 92, Eric. And then before really the steroid era hit, he had 3 more years where he hit 200 plus innings. And the guy's got 4,672 strikeouts. You can't tell me that all those strikeouts were from PEDs. And you know what? What is a pitcher supposed to do when the hitters on the other side are doing that as well? I mean, for all intents and purposes, and then someone says Adolis Garcia 100%. Well, Adolis has got to get to Hall of Fame status before he can be considered. He's not a Hall of Famer. And some people do say, well, but it's not fair to the other guys. Well, what about the guys that took steroids, hit 208, and only had 10 home runs, right? It didn't help everybody. You still had to have the skill.
Right.
If you want to put an asterisk on their name, that's fine. But I think because of his numbers alone, Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds, and I used to be different on this. I used to say Barry Bonds, no, I was staunch because of his attitude, because of the way he treated the media, because of how cocky he was. I didn't like that. But you know what? I mean, if it's the Hall of Fame and it's not the Hall of morality,
personality,
put him in. But but that's the thing, kids. There's a lesson. If you want good things to happen to you, you got to treat people right. Barry Bonds clearly was a horse's rear end in the clubhouse with his own team, had his own floor in a hotel. You were not allowed to go to his part of the clubhouse unless he invited you. Okay. And he was, Johnny Johnson says he was a chump. I mean, but you look at what he did, one of the greatest players to ever step on the diamond. Again, I'm not saying that I fully endorse the way he acted. I was not a big fan of his when he played, but if we're letting Roger Clemens in, you got to let Barry Bonds in. You can't keep him out. I mean, what about my guy, Mark McGwire? What about him? Let's put him in the Hall too. But the thing is, once you open this Pandora's box, then you're going to need to let all these other guys in. Maybe not Rafael Palmeiro. I'm joking.
Yeah, I know. Kind of interesting debate, because if you start letting these PED and steroid users in, you're kind of sending the message that it's okay, but then you're also letting the people that bet into the Hall of Fame potentially, but then you're also saying no, Emmanuel Class A, you cannot bet on baseball or whatever happened with him. So, but going back to Roger Clemens, if you war in today's pitching game, it's not what Roger Clemens did. He's like, I would say that Justin Verlander is probably the last of the dying breed of dominant starting pitching. But if you look at his WAR in 1990, 10.4, in 1987, 9.4, 1986, 8.8, Then you have 1992, 8.7. And 1997, 11.9. 1998, 8.1. When he came over to Houston, he even had a 7.8 WAR one season when he won his 7th Cy Young Award. And so he also had a lot of MVP votes over the years. So he even won the MVP back in 1986. So Roger Clemens did a lot of stuff that a lot of pitchers nowadays, they will not do. And he did it in an era where you had all the hitters, these steroids and all that. So I think just based off his numbers, not looking at basically what you said, the morality of everything, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. So the question
here's
is,
the deal, though.
The Veterans Committee.
So here's the deal. Did Roger Clemens ever test positive for steroids? No. I mean, he never tested positive. So that's the thing. Like, if they tested these guys and they tested positive, then okay. Like, but I don't know. Look, I think you can go 10, 15 different ways with this. I think there are plenty of people that have really good opinions on the side of keeping them out and not allowing them in. But I also think you have a lot of people like myself who have kind of changed over the years that say, I guess let them in. I mean, how do we know every single person, and how do we know that baseball hasn't selectively picked people out of the pile to not get thrown under the bus,
Yeah, we'll never know what exactly happened back in the 90s when all the steroids are going rampant. But guys, we don't know what's going on in 2026. We'll talk about players that opted out of their major league deals today. And could they come to Houston? We'll talk about that next on the Locked On Astros podcast.
What's up, everybody? It's that Young Wheelhouse, and I'm here to talk to you about Prize Picks. This episode is brought to you by them. Let me tell you, you and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, you can be right and get paid for it. So don't miss out on the excitement of this sports season. Whether you're following NFL, NBA, or both, there's no better time to jump in on the action. You haven't tried it yet. Prize Picks is the simplest way to play. Just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats. And if you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup, and you can play anywhere Prize Picks operates, including California, or as Arnold says, California, Texas, and Georgia. That's right. I love using Prize Picks, whether it's NFL Sunday kickoff or NBA tip-off. The action is so exciting. The new Stacks feature is a game changer. You can now pick more on Steph Curry's points, 3 points, and assists in the same lineup, or how many times LeBron James will flop. Actually, I don't know if that's a prop bet, but that would be fun. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in the lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right.
Hey guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day, whether it's on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to us. Go and make your first listen. Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Go ahead and check us out. And on today's episode, we talked about Hunter Brown, his chances of winning the Cy Young Award this year. And then we also talked about Roger Clemens, his chances of getting into the Hall of Fame. It all depends on the Veterans Committee. So now we're going to focus on maybe some players that the Astros could potentially sign that opted out of their deals with big league teams, and could they find their way to Houston? Likely not. So the big name we're probably going to hear all offseason, is he coming back home? I think it's already been pretty much said by John Heyman. I believe it was John Heyman. He said that Alex Bregman is not coming back to Houston. He opted out of his deal today.
But does anybody really, I keep hearing that, but does anybody really think he's coming back to Houston?
No. I think somebody asked him in the chat, and I think this was a podcast, and somebody asked him, well, we have Carlos Correa back in Houston. It would be good to have the game back together. So can we get Alex Bregman to come back too?
Yeah, no, that's a horrible take. To even assume that, right now his value or projected deal, according to Baseball References, 6 years, 180 million. I tell you who I do like that is out there is Michael King.
Brett, before you get in there real quick, I do want to tell y'all why all these players are possibly opting out. And you've talked about it for the past couple of days, is the possible labor stoppage in 2027. And so the players want to get secured long-term deals because they don't know what's going to happen with that. Are they going to have a salary cap? Are they going to have restricted contracts? So I think players are trying to cash in on their deals now, even though Alex Bregman has 2 years, $80 million remaining on his deals. He wants long-term security over that short-term security. I just want to kind of give everybody an idea why these players are opting out. Go ahead, Brett.
Well, I can tell you right now that one of the top landing places for Kyle Tucker is already being named in the Los Angeles Dodgers, just to piss Astros fans off. I hate that, but that is definitely something going around. But one of the guys that opted out today that I think would be a really good guy to look at is Brandon Woodruff. I like him as an option. I think if you can get Brandon Woodruff and a Michael King, who I don't think is as expensive as most people think he would be, because Dylan Cease is going to command like a 9-year, 168 deal. Frommer is going to get around 158, 170. I think the Max Fried contract is where Frommer Valdez starts. And so that prices those guys out. As much as I love Ranger Suarez and want him here, I think he's estimated at $26.2 million. I don't think you're going to pay him that. But imagine bringing Woodruff in, King, and even bringing back Justin Verlander on a 1-year deal. I mean, adding those 3 guys would be huge with Hunter Brown, with Spencer Arrighetti, and then you got Jason Alexander, and then you've got a formidable 6-man rotation right there in those guys. I think they're realistic. I mean, if you can't get a Woodruff and a King, maybe you go get a Merrill Kelly. I just don't know that I like paying a 37-year-old. Maybe he takes a 1-year deal. But there are a lot of options. There are a lot of interesting ways. And I believe the Astros 40-man roster technically sits at 37 right now. And until all the arbitration cases are solved, they only have about 15 million in spending room right now. What?
I want to correct you on one thing. It is at 37, but they have not added the 7 players on the IL right now. So it's technically at 47, at 45.
Right. But you got guys on the 60-day IL and all that stuff still, right?
No, you have to take them off. You have till a certain deadline to remove them to get them.
So when everything's lined out, they will have 37. And not 40 is what I'm saying. They will have 3 spots.
No. They'll probably have to cut 5 players just to add the people from the IL.
Okay.
And so they're going to have to do some roster manipulation before they even get to that point. So I would guess that they would have to do some DFAs. They'll have to do some, whether it's non-tenders or trades at some point, because right now technically they're at about 44 or 45 because of all the IL spots. So but all I'm saying is the 8 players that are on the 60-day IL, like you said, have to be put back on. So DFAs, outrights, and minor league contracts will be coming. But technically right now, as we speak, it does sit at 37 players because of where everybody is all I'm saying. So if you add those 8 players on, you add 37, 8, that's like 45. That's like 45 men on there. So, and all this stuff will shake out. They'll decide who they're going to DFA. They'll decide who they're going to outright or give or offer a minor league contract to. And I think that will clean things up. It will be exciting though to see who stays. And I think Mauricio Dubon is a shoe-in, to get a deal. I think you bring back Victor Caratini, but really what I'm looking at is what are they going to do with the pitching? Yeah. And I'm going to tease you a little bit here, Brett. Suarez opted out today.
Yeah, but he's also worth
Roberto Suarez, not Ranger Suarez.
I was like, how does Suarez opt out? He's a free agent, but okay.
Yeah.
Nice try there, Eric.
Yeah, so Roberto Suarez, who led the NL with 40 saves last year, opted out. He had 16 million left to go with 2 years of control left. So, of course, after that season he had last year with the Padres, he decided he wanted some more money. So you could go out there and get him. You have somebody, Edwin Diaz. I think he's a fairly good closer, or he can be a fairly good closer. He opted out of the contract with the Mets. Pete Alonso also opted out of his contract for the Mets. And
yeah, but you have Josh Hader.
I know.
And you're paying him $90 million.
You're talking about Jim Crane that brought in a closer when he already had a closer.
He also had Brian Presley. You're talking about now taking the best closer of the last 5 years and replacing him with a guy that's not been the best 5 closer in 5 years. They're not bringing it.
I'm just saying all the names that have opted out. I'm not necessarily saying these guys are coming.
I thought you were insinuating something there.
No, not really. So there are several other players that have opted out. Cody Bellinger, cue the Cody Bellinger to Houston talks, but most of these guys are probably going to stay with their current teams. I'm pretty sure Cody Bellinger wants to stay with the Yankees.
Isn't he a right fielder?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, we got Cam Smith.
Or center fielder. I think he can play center field too.
He was a right fielder. Judge moved to center field as a result. I believe so.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Look, I tell you who I would like, and someone who doesn't have a massive market value because he can't hit home runs. Stephen Kwan in left field. Stephen Kwan would be inexpensive. You can you imagine adding that left-handed bat, putting him in left field, a Gold Glover, a 3-time Gold Glover? I mean, that dude is money in the bank. I mean, why not go after Stephen Kwan? I know we got Yordan Alvarez coming back, but we know he's going to DH, and we know heck, let Altuve and freaking Paredes platoon at second and DH, and let them rotate between 2 or 3 positions and just have a carousel. And let's just get this thing rolling, and let's dethrone the freaking Los Angeles Dodgers, because they're already talking about a 3-peat, man.
Ha-Seong Kim has opted out. I believe he was with the Padres. Several players are going to opt out over the next few days because I believe the deadline is the same deadline as the qualifying offer. So players are probably going to opt out if they have the ability to, just because they want the chance to make a little bit more money. So we have all off season talk about this stuff, but Brett, great show. Thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day, guys. We'll be here all off season, walking you through whatever happens, whether it's good, bad, or just meh. We'll talk about this all off season on the Locked On Astros podcast.
Go Stros. Bring Stephen Kwan here, and we can say, hit the Kwan. Hit the Kwan.
Oh, come on.
Hit the Kwan. Yeah.
Let's go back in time.
No, you don't have to bring that back. Again?